Vaccines are generally used for immunization or vaccination of any individual, whether it can be human being or an animal. The process of bringing about the defensive response or defensive power in an individual is called as immunization, or it is also called as vaccination. So, technically, vaccination is a simple, safe, and effective way of protecting people against harmful, deadly diseases before they even come in contact with the animal. It causes our body's natural defenses to build resistance to specific infections and make our immune system stronger. The vaccines train our immune system to create defense responses, that is, antibodies, just as it does when it is exposed to the disease. I mean to say, vaccines mimic the microorganisms which actually trigger the defensive response in the body so that they will further get themselves protected against infected pathogen in future. Most of the vaccines are given by injection, but some are given orally, that is by mouth, or sprayed into the nose. So what are vaccines? A vaccine is the component that stimulates a person's immune system to produce immunity to a specific disease, thus protecting the person from that particular disease. There are two types of immunization. One is passive immunization, the second one is active immunization. Passive immunization is provided or obtained when a person is given directly the antibodies to the disease rather than triggering the antibody producing ability in the person. A newborn baby acquires a passive immunity from its mother through the placenta. That is, ready-made defensive power is supplied to the individual instead of triggering their own defense system. The second one is active immunization. This active immunization, or is called as active immunity, refers to the process of exposing the body to an antigen, that is nothing but the vaccine, to generate an adaptive immune system. The response takes weeks or days to develop and may be long lasting, or sometimes it can be lifelong immunity which is being triggered. The active immunity is usually classified as natural immunity or acquired immunity. The active immunity can be obtained naturally by infection with the disease, or it can be triggered artificially by vaccination process. Whereas passive immunity can also be naturally obtained from maternal antibodies, or it can be artificially induced, artificially put into the body through the injection of monoclonal antibodies. When exactly we need a passive immunization? Of course, when the baby is newly born, it comes to the open universe without any protection, so the nature itself has devised so that it gets the protection ready-made from the mother's milk itself. But the process of passive immunization is also required by the individual lifelong under various situations. Let's see what they are. The first one is deficiency. That is, when there is deficiency in the synthesis of antibody production in an individual because of the congenital defects or acquired B cell defects, in such a cases that person has to undergo passive immunization. Or else the second one is when the person is susceptible to the exposed disease that might cause immediate complication. In such a case also passive immunization is required. For example, if the person is having some respiratory problem or a heart disease or heart problem, that person cannot actually get exposed to the influenza virus directly as a normal person can. In such a case, that person has to be given a ready-made antibody so that he will not get that particular influenza infection. So that person is going to be given a ready-made antibodies, that is, he will be protected by passive immunization. The third case is if the person is already suffering from a particular disease, then also he has to be given a ready-made antibody, because the body has actually succumbed, it has given up to protect itself from the disease because it's already expressing the disease. When the body is already expressing the disease, the passive immunization or artificially giving the antibodies to the body will actually help that person to overcome the disease. Some of the examples are, for example, in snake bite. In snake bite, the passive immunization is through injecting horse antivenom. In case of rabies, a pooled human immune gamma globulin is actually being given. In case of hepatitis A and B, again pooled human immune gamma globulin, which is actually raised against hepatitis A and B virus, will be given. In the case of tetanus also, ready-made antibodies given. Measles, botulism, diphtheria, black widow or spider bite, likewise many are there. These are only a few which I have quoted. The immune system and the passive immunization. What exactly happens? In a passive immunization, it is a typical transfer of antibodies to the body, which is not going to trigger the immune system. Rather, they help in protecting the body against already existing disease. At the same time, in the case of passive immunity, you cannot expect the presence of memory cells. That is, memory cells will not be present. Well, what are the risks in passive immunization? The risks are recognition of immunoglobulin epitope by self-immunoglobulin paratopes. The second one, some individuals produce IgE molecules which are specific for passive antibody, leading to mast cell degranulation. The third one is some individuals produce IgG or IgM molecules specific for passive antibody, leading to hypersensitive reaction, that is the allergic reactions. When these are all the drawbacks or risks in passive immunization, the best one is to defend ourselves, that is active immunization. In active immunization, it can be by the natural method or by artificial method. In natural method, the person will be infected with microorganism and he develops defense against that particular disease causing organism. In artificial immunization, artificial active immunization, the person is actually triggered to defend himself by giving the vaccination process. Both the natural infection or artificial acquisition actually stimulate the proliferation of T and B cells, resulting in the formation of effector and the memory cells in the body. The formation of memory cells is the basis of relatively permanent effects of vaccination. In brief, if you see the pictorial representation, you can clearly see that after clearing the body of the invading organism, the B cell retains the memory of its target and rests until infection occurs. What are the principles underlying vaccination? For this, we should be knowing the concept of immunity. First of all, the concept of self versus non-self has to be identified. That is, self is our body particles, whereas non-self is the one which is invading, or else the one which is going to be used for triggering defense in our body. The second one is antigen specificity. The third is indicated by the presence of effector cells. The fourth one is protection from infectious diseases using above methods. The vaccination protocol starts ever since the child is born. For example, hepatitis B is actually given at the first month itself, and a booster dose is given at second month and at 1 year of the baby. And diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis is given at the age of 2 months, and booster dose is actually further given. Influenza type B vaccination is given at 2 months. Further booster doses are also given. Poliovirus, rotavirus, measles, mumps, rubella virus are also given in a similar pattern at various stages of the baby's development. Likewise, varicella vaccination is given when the baby is 15 months. Some of the vaccines do not require multiple doses. That is, once they are given, lifetime or a typical particular time duration immunization will be seen in the body. But some vaccination require booster doses, that is multiple inoculation, so that the body will be continuously having the ability to protect itself against the pathogen. So let's see the effectiveness of vaccination. The small percentage of recipients will respond poorly, that is almost all respond positively, but few will respond very poorly because of the genetic determinants. That is, genetically, if they have got a very less ability to react to the vaccination, then nothing can be done. They are going to respond only poorly to the vaccination. In some cases, herd immunity is actually created. That is, herd immunity is nothing but majority of population is immune. So chances of the susceptible individual coming in contacting the infected individual will be very low. Let's see what herd immunity is. Herd immunity is nothing but in a population above 70 to 80% are already immune to a particular disease. So what are the factors affecting herd immunity? One is environmental factors, strength of the individual's immune system, infectiousness of the disease. Environmental factors include the crowded condition or the seasonal variation. Infectiousness of the disease is nothing but it's the greater the risk of infection, the higher percentage of people need vaccines to attain high herd immunity. When enough people are vaccinated, chance of the pathogen infecting the non-immunized population is very small. At the same time, because of the inception of herd immunity, the disease itself can be eradicated. For example, nowadays we don't have the smallpox itself in the population. So there is no need of vaccination for the smallpox hereafter to the newborns. Coming to the concept of development of vaccines, there is a common misconception that activation of immune system results in protective immunity. The multiple factors affect decisions when making vaccines. The factors which are activation of specific branch of immune system and the development of immunological memory. These are the components which are very much required for the development of vaccines. When the vaccines are developed, the concept of memory cells also has to be taken care of, because vaccines actually trigger the immunity power in the body, and this immunity power is actually restored, or it will be in stock in the body in the form of memory cells. So let's see what are the roles of memory cells. It all depends on the incubation period of the pathogen. For example, if there's a very short incubation period, for example influenza, symptoms are already underway by the time memory cells are activated. That is to say, after the disease has come and the symptoms have expressed, the body is trying to defend itself against the invaded pathogen. So it defends itself, and at the same time it prepares the memory cell. And some actually will be triggered during long incubation period. For example, poliovirus. There will be enough time to allow memory cells to respond. When we look into the immunological memory and the serum antibody level, let me make the point clear that immunological memory is already acquired memory cells in the body because of the vaccination process. Because of the vaccination process, or else because of the already infected pathogen, the serum will also develop certain antibody in the body. So what exactly happens is, the serum antibody will be present in the body, and it will be staying for a certain duration and it comes down. So when further infection takes place, again the serum antibody will not be capable of protecting the body against the invading pathogen, because it is already coming to almost zero. So when the serum antibody is produced, the body would have already triggered the memory cells, or else it would have already memorized the type of defense which is required to overcome the invading pathogen if it comes in future. So when the pathogen infects in the second round, immediately the memory cells which are present will going to respond, and this will be responsive in a very high manner. That's the reason there is very much need of memory cells or vaccination process, so that the body can defend itself against the pathogen in future. There are certain facts as well as myths with regards to vaccines by the common man. One myth is the effectiveness of vaccines has never been proven. The fact is, there is widespread use of vaccines which is nearly wiped out the disease like smallpox, measles and polio. So obviously vaccine has got lot of effectiveness. Then another myth is vaccination cause the diseases that they are meant to prevent. That is, vaccination, they cause the disease that they are meant to prevent. The fact is, vaccines contain dead or weakened virus. Exposure to these help the body recognize and produce antibodies to protect against the disease. The myth is, I don't need to vaccinate if everyone else does. In this process, we have to take into account the herd immunity. When the herd, that is 70 to 80% of population, is already immune, obviously there is no exposure of the expression of the disease. So you can also expect there will be no outbreak to a larger community about the disease. Another myth is vaccines cause health issues in children. There is no documented proof of vaccines which is causing autism or genetic defects in the newborns. The last myth is vaccines aren't worth the risk. That is, we need not take a risk with vaccines, because by chance if we come across the disease, the body is going to respond. If that particular idea is in your mind, please don't do that, because many of the disease will not give you time to overcome the disease duration itself, because they will be very deadly. So be very careful, go for vaccination process, so that you are not going to be affected by the pathogen if it is invading you in future. This is the importance of getting the vaccination done by any individual.